Are you looking for a unique and challenging challenge in Football Manager? Then look no further than the City Group Challenge. And if you don't know what the City Group is, the City Group is a financial group that owns a lot of football clubs worldwide. And if you hadn't guessed, they do own clubs like Manchester City, New York City, Melbourne City. Those names may be familiar to you. The idea of this challenge is to start off with as little or as no coaching badges as possible and work your way through the City Group, with Manchester City being the pinnacle of that group and getting to that level and winning everything with those teams. Now, I'm going to give you my top 5 teams to start off this challenge with and to make the City Challenge one of the most enjoyable challenges in Football Manager. Coming in at number 5 is Melbourne City in Australia. I feel like this is a great place to start the City Challenge. You're out in the sticks in Australia, although Melbourne isn't in the countryside, but you get what I mean. In terms of footballing, Australia isn't as well known as it is for, say, cricket or rugby. It's a great place to start your managerial career. You can get your badges out here. You can also progress. You've got a chance of winning the Asian Champions League, as well as Australian sides are very, very strong in that competition. Obviously, you've got increased competition this year from the Saudi clubs. But in terms of what Melbourne Football Club want you to do in the first season, increase the commercial revenue, be competitive in the Champions League, finish in the A-League's top 2 places and be competitive in the Australian Cup. So the objectives there are not exactly that hard. I feel like you could really do these. The AI out in Australia isn't as strong as, say, in the Premier League. So OP tactics out here will just absolutely smash it. Anything you've seen on my channel will absolutely demolish the Oz League, in my humble opinion. Finances, well, you're part of the City Group, so there's not really going to be much to worry about, in my opinion. £4.4 million in the bank. No debt. No transfer debt, so a clean slate to start out in Australia. There isn't a lot of revenue out there. You get your revenue mainly from the Asian Champions League, which I think is about a couple £1 million each season. But out in Australia, you're not going to be spending big money, so success should come easy to you there. Plus, getting your coaching badges to move you on to the next stage of this challenge will be very, very vital. In terms of the squad that they've got a fairly decent squad, I have to say. Having managed out in Oz at the back end of FM23, they've got good players. Jamie McLaren is a very good Australian striker. He's got 31 caps for Oz, 8 goals. He's got 93 goals for Melbourne City already. He is a 20-goal plus a season striker in the A-League after playing in Europe and Australia for his whole career. He's very experienced. He'll be very good for you on this save. And I have to say, Nuno Reis as well is a fairly decent centre-back. He's got a lot of experience, played for Levski Sofia, Vitsutabal, Panathinaikos. He's had a good career, and seeing out his career in Australia, he'll be a very decent starting centre-back for you as well. Tolgo Arslan as well is another player with many experiences out in Europe. He's played for Besiktas, Hamburg, Fenerbahce, Udinese. Now he's finishing his career out in Australia. He's solid holding midfield player and a solid central midfield player for the Oz A-League. Can you start off your career in the A-League with Melbourne City, and can you take on the City Group Challenge? In at 4th place is New York City FC. What better place to make your name than make it in America? If you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere, is what some of the famous songs have said down the past. And I think it's a good place to get those coaching badges and kick off your City Group Challenge without much of a challenge, to be perfectly honest. The MLS, well, it's got some weird rules, just like the Australian League as well, that you will have to get used to. So it is a bit of a pretty tricky league to get your head around, but I'm sure you guys know how to run an MLS save. And if you don't, well, comment below and I'll run a video on how to run an MLS save. But here we are, we're at New York City. The club vision is to sign players that you can develop and sell on for profit. They're going to build a new stadium, which is absolutely fantastic in my opinion. You've got to reach the playoffs, finish in the Supporters' Shield top 7 places, and be competitive in the US Cup as well. So some fairly decent objectives for your first season in charge of the football club. In terms of the finances, you've got £31 million in the bank. That is big, huge money for an MLS side. You're not going to be spending huge money on transfers in the MLS, in my opinion, due to the wage structure, all the MLS rules and all that sort of good stuff there. The debt and the loans, it's City Group. You ain't got to worry about debts and loans. You've got big money to spend and big money to bring in to the football club. In terms of the squad, you've got some of my favourite players on Football Manager in this squad. In my humble opinion, Thales Magno is an underrated gem This guy is so good. He's carried me on so many Football Manager saves in the past. He is an unbelievable beast. If you can keep him at New York, develop him, you'll sell him on for huge money. He will be a key player for you, no doubt, in my opinion. He's an absolute animal of a player. Matheus Pellegrini as well is a very good, talented Argentine left winger. Can play pretty much across the front line. Another good, solid attacking talent for you in the US as well. Gabe Siegel is a young American striker with some talent. You need him for those MLS rules. He's going to be keen to keep, in my opinion. But your main man up top will be Monza Bakra. I've definitely killed his name. An Algerian striker. Again, another young striker that's got plenty of potential and could tear it up in the MLS. This guy could end up winning the MLS Cup for you. Him, Thales Magno, is an unbelievable trident up top. I feel like this is such a good team to start with. It's such a good team to get your teeth stuck into the City Group Challenge. New York City, if you can make it there, you will make it everywhere. Coming in at third place is Belgian second division side, Lommel SK. Now, the Belgium League has produced so many great players down the past, like Kevin De Bruyne, Koulibaly. The list really, really does go on. Any Belgian name you can think of. Lukaku is another one who used to play for Anderlecht. But Lommel are now in the second division of Belgium football and are owned by the City Group. They're a great place to start off. Second division football, great place to learn your trade, great place to get your coaching badges, and a great league for your first league to manage in as well. They've had some good players play for them in the past. Hans van Aken, currently at Club Brugge, is one of their club icons. He's a very good player. Not a player that's spoken about enough in real life. In my humble opinion, the club vision is to work within a budget, grow the reputation of the club, recoup the funds via player sales, and gain automatic promotion back to the Jupiler Pro League and be competitive in the Belgian Cup as well. So some fairly good objectives in your first season. You've got to get back into the top division of Belgian football with Lommel SK in your first season in charge. So a little bit of a challenge as you're developing as a manager in this City Group Challenge. Now, the finances, they have got £1.5 million in the bank. Not the richest of the City Group clubs, but it's a fairly decent start for the Belgium second division, let's be honest. Debts and loans, well, there is some debt. This is something you're going to have to worry about for the first time in your City Group Challenge, is an £11.5 million debt with some hefty repayments, about 400k per month, which is quite a lot considering your bank balance is quite short. So getting back into the Premier League, rebuilding those finances is going to be a big part of this City Group Challenge for you. Probably one of the most challenging City Group teams you can pick, hence why it is in at third place on this challenge. But the squad you've got to do that with, they've got some fairly good players, I have to say. Lazar Miovic is a Montenegrin winger who has played 8 games for the club. He's got some good stats. He'll be very good for the Belgium second division, lower end Belgium Premier League side as well. And he's got plenty of room to develop his talents. Other players you may recognise is Stein Wootens. I've definitely killed his name, but he's been playing at clubs like AZ Alkmaar. He's been at PSV. He's been around the block, to be perfectly honest with you. He is a centre-back, can play holding midfield player. He's got some good stats. He is at the twilight end of his career, but will add that dressing room experience you need to push this club forward and upwards into the Jupiler Pro League as well. Rob Nizet is a decent young Belgium left-back as well. Currently only played 8 games for the football club. He's been at a fair few clubs in his past as well. He's been at Anderlecht, Norwich, Salento as well. He's going to be one that you really do need to kick on and develop if he's going to have some sort of footballing career. But he can play pretty much across the left-hand side of the pitch, so a decent, versatile player for you to have in this challenge. Now, you know me, I love a striker. And Arthur Salles is a good striker for the Belgium second division. The 20-year-old Brazilian has got 8 and 17 whilst playing for Lommel. He's been on loan a couple of times. He came from Vasco da Gama in Brazil. He's got some fairly good stats, to be perfectly honest with you. He's got 13 finishing, 14 dribbling, 12 passing. He could be a player that fires you into the Jupiler Pro League. Will you start with Lommel in this City Challenge? In second place is French side Estac THUAH or THUAH. I don't know how to pronounce their name, but I think THUAH sounds about right. I mean, I don't speak French and I always get ruined for saying these names wrong. So there's another one to add to the list. And if you love these save videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. You've made it this far, so do me a favor, do subscribe. It helps me grow as a creator. Now, we are going to kick it off. They're in the French second division, League 2 in France. They've got a 20,000-seater capacity stadium. They're in good condition. They've got some nice kits as well. I actually quite like the third kit, but enough of the fluff. Let's get into the club vision. Work within the budget, gain automatic promotion back to League 1, and be competitive in the French Cup. So some serious objectives there. You got to get back into the French top division, a bit like Lommel. Got to get them back into the top division and go beyond. In terms of the finances, they've got £12 million in the bank, which is a lot for a second division club in France. Let me tell you, that's a lot for a top division club in France if you're not called PSG. Debts and loans, there's no debt, but there is some transfer debt in there, so you can kind of deal with that as you will. They have got some fairly decent players in their squad. In my opinion, they've got Lasso Urucci, who you won't have in the first season. He is out on loan to Sheffield United, currently playing in the Premier League, but he is a THUAH player, and he is a very good player. He's a former Liverpool Academy graduate as well, so you know he's got some talent in him as well, but you won't have him in the first season, and that's kind of the theme of this team. But you will have Luka Ilic, who is a very good Serbian international player. He's got 1 cap, 1 goal, can play across the front line, can play in midfield. He's a very good utility man, but he's more than that. He's a good player for the French League 2 division. He could be a key man in pushing you on in the season and getting you into those promotion changes. They've also got a fairly decent front line. Another player that you won't have this season, but is an unbelievable beast. He's on loan at another City Group club in Girona, is Savio. He is a star player. He will be an unbelievable player. Once you get him back from loan, you'll be in the French first division. He will push you on in that division, and you can sell him off and replace that transfer debt with just the money you get for this young man. A very, very good winger. Very, very good. But in terms of the players you do have at the football club, Alexis is a young striker with some talent. He's going to be probably your main starting striker in the first season. You can develop him. He normally develops fairly well. He's okay. I mean, give him a shot. He won't disappoint you. Mohamed Diop is a Senegalese player who is a decent squad player, good shadow striker if you play that sort of system. They've got some rebuilding to do in their squad. It isn't the best for League 2. They will be sort of finishing in the top 3 places, but a player that I think can carry you is a player I've had on saves before, is Anton Palversa. He's a very good central midfield player, a little bit underrated. He was at Manchester City before, and obviously now he's signed to THUAH. He is a very good player. Can you take this club forward, the club whose name I can't pronounce, make them the biggest team in France, and then get your coaching badges and move on to the next part of the City Challenge? In at first place, it could be none other than iconic club Palermo in Italy. They are in Serie B, so another second division side. They've had some great players down the years. Edison Cavani, Paolo Dybala, Josep Ilicic, and the list really does go on. The super Luca Toni, what a player he was. He's not spoken about enough, in my humble opinion. They've got a great history. I mean, it's a checkered past. They've been in Serie D. They've been out of existence. They've come back. They're now in Serie B. Let's hope they don't go out of business again. I mean, it's crazy. I don't think they will as being part of City Group. I think that's probably a bit unrealistic now. But they've got a good stadium, built in 1932. Probably need a new one at this point, to be perfectly honest. But the club vision is to sign young players. It's a theme amongst the City Group teams. Sign players, make profit, build the finances is what you want to do here. And those are all of the objectives that the board vision want. You've got to finish in Serie B's top 4 places and be competitive in the Italian Cup. Fairly decent. Again, I mean, finishing the top 4, you know, could be pushing on for Serie A with the squad that they've got. But we'll take a look at the finances first. £4.2 million in the bank, and then no debts, which is great. It's what you want to see, especially in Italian football. There isn't any money really involved at this stage of Italian football. They've got a fairly decent squad, I have to say. Adam Kanaric in goal is a young goalkeeper that will be a sub-goalkeeper for you. He's fairly decent as a backup keeper. In terms of other players that they've got, they're a little bit more, shall we say, first team. Claudio Gomez, another player who played for Manchester City in the past. He went to PSV on loan. He's been at Barnsley on loan. Finds himself at a City Group team. What a surprise. But he's always been very good on Football Manager, and I feel like he'll be good for Palermo on this save as well. He's got a lot of talent if you can keep him fit and firing. In the midfield with him as well, you've got Leo Stulak, who is an experienced Slovenian international, played across a lot of Serie B sides, Empoli, Parma, Venezia, and now at Palermo, brings that Serie B experience to your squad. And in terms of the front line, they've got, well, it's a decent-ish front line. Roberto Insigne is probably your best front line player. He came from Frosinone, he's been at Parma, he's been at He's been at other places as well, Napoli, Avellino. He's been pretty much everywhere. Brings that Italian first division, second division experience to your squad. And I feel like this is the perfect team to kick off your City Group Challenge with. You can get your badges, you can manage in Serie A, you can then move on to other teams and ultimately work your way towards being Manchester City manager and winning everything with Manchester City's riches and millions and the robot up front in Erling Haaland. Can you take on the Man City Challenge, the City Group Challenge? Can you take it on? Will you win it? Can you do it? What a challenge this is in Football Manager. And yeah, I mean, I would love to do this one day. It's one of my favourite things to do is take on a challenge like this. Let's go out and get it. Let's go out and do it. And I wish you well in your challenge.